Hello, everyone. The IAB welcomes all who are joining us on the line today. I'm Susan Borst, the Director of Industry Initiatives of the Social Media, B2B, and Games Committee here at the IAB. Today, we're honored to have a distinguished group of social media leaders who will be talking about social sharing. Brian Brett from the New York Times will lead off with a presentation of a groundbreaking study titled The Psychology of Sharing. We'll then hear from 3 IAB member companies who will share their thoughts on the New York Times study and their perspectives on social sharing as it relates to their business. With us today are Sue Freck of Social Media Link, Abby Penish of ConAgra Foods, Lauren Newman from Edelman, Adam Riff from Mediawhiz, and Angela Bandlow of Extole. Also joining us on the line is Nicole Horsford, Senior Manager of Member Services here at the IAB, who is instrumental in organizing today's event. Before we begin, a couple of housekeeping announcements. All participants are on mute, and we will be taking live questions throughout the webinar through your chat feature. If time allows, we'll also have a Q&A after the session. This webinar is being recorded and will be made available on IAB.net. We'll send a link out to everyone on the call on how to access. So without further ado, please welcome Brian Brett from the New York Times.
Well, thank you. So I'm going to share with you today some brief highlights from our 3-phase research project that we conducted to understand why people share content online. Basically, we were tasked from our newsroom team to understand this, and what we found was, in doing kind of some depth research, is that no one had ever actually conducted a study to really get to the bottom of what the primary motivations were for people sharing content online. So our study endeavored to kind of identify those things. And what I'll do today is I'll share with you the 5 reasons that we found that people share. And then we also, using a segmentation analysis, identified or revealed 6 different types of online content sharers, or kind of sharing personas, which can kind of help marketers understand the different types of people, why they share, and what really motivates them. So we'll jump in to the first, to the 5 reasons why people share content online. And the first is relatively straightforward. We share to bring valuable, enlightening, and entertaining content to people we care about, our friends, our family, our colleagues. And when we do this, we really are thinking about the person or people that we're sharing with, and what the value is going to be to them. And this can be something as serious as, say, an article about a health issue that people are dealing with, or something as fun and carefree as a really funny viral video, or just a funny joke that we heard, just to give people a smile and kind of, lighten up their day a bit. The second reason why people share is really quite the opposite. It has a kind of opposite motivation, and that is a very self-directed motivation. Basically, online, we're able to cultivate an online persona, tell the world something about ourselves. And if we look at the quote on the screen here, I thought this was kind of very, very illustrative of what we found in our study. This person says, I try to share only information that will reinforce the image I'd like to present. Thoughtful, reasoned, kind, interested, and passionate about certain things. What I love about this quote is that the person is, on one level, being very straightforward about how they're not necessarily representing themselves exactly as they are when kind of cultivating an online personality. And how they share and what they share tells the world something about how they'd like to be seen. And so it really is, when people are sharing for this reason, it's really important to them, we found, that they hear comments and likes and things like that back when they share. What they ultimately are looking for is validation that people saw what they shared and thought about them the way that they wanted to be thought about when they shared that piece of content in the first place. The third reason that people share, and this came as a bit of a surprise to us because we were very focused on content, but it's not just about content. It's about the relationships that are nourished and maintained and even created through sharing. Basically, what we found is that people are, when people share things with others, it's a way of letting them know, not just bringing them content, but letting them know that we're thinking about them, that we care, that we thought enough to share something with them. And it also It also allows us to create, to kind of keep connections going that we may have with people we may not have spoken to in a while. And we even heard that people were able to generate new connections with other people based on sharing of like-minded content or things about which they're passionate. The fourth reason is about self-fulfillment. We heard earlier that people share to bring valuable and enlightening content to other people. People also like to get credit for bringing valuable and enlightening content to other people, for bringing funny content to people. What we also heard was when people share things and they get lots of comments and other people's points of view back, they actually have a more well-rounded understanding of what they originally shared in the first place. And it really just helps keep people feeling connected to the world. Just an overall sense of fulfillment and enjoyment and connection. And finally, people share to get the word out about causes and sometimes brands that they believe in. And social media in particular has given people the sense that they have a lot more impact and power on kind of getting the word out about things and having an impact on the world around them. So if we think about the 5 reasons why people share, and we've kind of restated them all here, they all have one common denominator, and that is the relationship that people have with one another. Whether it's the very altruistic desire to help people and bring them valuable content, or the more self-directed desire to kind of tell the world something about ourselves or what we'd like them to think about us. None of those things are able to be accomplished without the underlying relationship that we have with one another. And for marketers who are in the business of thinking about the relationship between their brand and their consumer, when it comes to getting content shared, it requires that they reorient their thinking or put on a second hat and think also about the relationship that consumers have with one another. Because that's what's really driving why people share. That's what's really going to determine whether or not the content you're creating is the kind of content that they're going to want to share. So that fundamental relationship is really what drives all of online content sharing. So let's turn now to the different kinds of sharers, online sharers that our study revealed. We basically conducted a latent class segmentation analysis of the 2,500 survey respondents that we had who were online content sharers. And we designed the entire segmentation around just the reasons why people share, so to keep it very tight and focused on that one specific issue. And what we found was there were basically 6 different types of sharers. Now these are segments, and as with all segments, no person lives entirely within just one. You're likely to see a bit of yourself in each of these, or perhaps you'll find yourself fitting quite nicely into one of them. And I'll share them with you, just a quick top line about each one, and we'll go through them from they're listed here in order from the largest group, the altruists, through to the smallest, which are we're calling the selected. Our first group we're calling the altruists. This group tends to be a little bit more female. It's not a big deal for them to be the first to share things. They're really thinking primarily about what it's going to mean for the person and the value it's going to bring for them. And they also share to kind of get the word out about causes and brands that they believe in. They want to be helpful. They want to be providing information that's actually going to help people that they're sharing with. They want to remain connected. And based on the reasons and the motivations for sharing, the primary ways that they share with people are Facebook and email. Our second group, which we call the careerists, basically share primarily for professional reasons. This group tends to have a larger network of people. They like to be able to get credit for having a larger network. They like to have a reputation for having a larger and more robust network than most people, and to be the person that other people should reach out to when they want to get in touch with the right people. They really have a very low tolerance for what they consider to be frivolous or trivial sharing. They only share things that they think are actually going to have value and move the needle, and they only comment on things that they actually feel like they can add value. And for this group, given the reasons that they share, email and LinkedIn are the primary ways that they're sharing content online. Our third group is the youngest and most male, and we're calling them the hipsters. This group is interesting in that they've actually never known life without being able to share content. And for this group, it's really all about who they are and what it tells people about them when they share. It's important for them to be first. It's important for them to look like they're on the cutting edge. And this group actually is in constant search of content, not because they're interested in it, but because they constantly want to have something to share. This group is the least likely to use email and the most likely to use Twitter. Our next group we call the boomerangs. This group is all about validation. They're all about the responses that they get back when they share. And for this group, a negative response is better than no response at all. They like to have lots of likes, lots of comments when they share things. They tend to be a little bit, they're very similar to the hipster group. They're just a little older. They're younger professionals, but they are also all about being first, all about how they look when they share things. This group uses all of the different possible social media platforms as well as email, and they're also blogs, and they're also the group most likely to comment on news articles. So it's just really important to them to constantly be getting their opinion out there and getting reactions. Our next group is our most female group, and they are the connectors. And for this group, it's more about the connection that's created by sharing and the enjoyment of the content rather than the content itself. This group likes to share things like coupons to go shopping together, get drinks together, go to restaurants. They share movie trailers and suggest maybe getting together to go see a movie. Basically, they're really kind of the most social aspect of social sharing in the sense that they like to be able to get together in person. And they use social media precisely for that. To enjoy content together, to get together in person. It's really all about the building and generating and nourishing the connections they have. And for this group, email and Facebook are the primary ways that they share. Our final group are the selective. And this group is defined primarily by the fact that they share a lot less than all the other groups. They tend to be older and more traditional. For this group, sharing with other people is a bit of an interruption in their lives. So they only share things with people if they think it's really important that they see it, and if they trust that that person wouldn't have found that information easily themselves already. But given the higher bar and the interruption that they think sharing is, they do like to hear back that you received what they shared and actually hear your thoughts on what they shared, and that you actually paid some attention to what they took the time to share with you in the first place. And given the way that this group shares really with individual people in mind, email is the only way that this group is sharing online. And with that, I will turn it over to back to Susan.
Great. Thank you, Brian, for sharing the results of your study. I know it was really a first-of-its-kind inquiry into understanding the motivations behind why we share, and we know it's been incredibly well received in the social media community. So everyone knows at the end of the webinar, we'll give you all a link to a white paper that details some study findings in greater detail. So now let's give a warm welcome to our next presenters, Susan, Abby, and Lauren. Susan, at Social Media Link with your Smiley 360 program, social sharing is obviously at the heart of your business. What stood out the most for you with the psychology of sharing study findings, and what was the most relevant for your business?
Thanks, Susan, and thank you, Brian, so much for sharing your study with us and with our industry. I think, for us, and we'll just jump right into our presentation, we are really excited about the research findings in this study because it's what we've been leveraging. We have a community of consumers that we call influencers that we are turning into advocates for brand, and we are counting on the fact that they love sharing content that's important to them, and they love sharing about the brands that are important to them and touch their lives. And what's been most relevant and sort of bridging into what we're going to talk about today are these are some of the points that Brian shared in his study. And really, we're also counting on the fact that the people that share within our Smiley network are sharing with those that are like-minded. So it's important to us that when they're sharing about a new recipe or a brand, and we'll talk about the case study today, that it's with people that are sharing the same interest to them, so it'll resonate with their networks, their friends, their followers, and their readers as well. Today we're going to talk a little bit in detail about and share a case study that relates to activating sharing amongst your Facebook community. We know that lots of brands have spent over the past couple of years building up this Facebook presence and having large communities. And a lot of the questions that we're getting is the what's next, now what, how do we engage them? And some of the research findings we've seen is that 59% of Facebook users have actually liked the page, but only less than 2% have actually engaged with that brand. And we see that as a tremendous opportunity. When you look into some of the numbers here about why consumers have liked brands, that's 67% saying that they expected offers, there's this disconnect in that brands themselves or companies are saying that only 33% believe that they were looking for incentives or rewards, and only 27% saying that they were seeking special savings or these exclusive experiences. And we found this great study and quote from the marketing shop that talked about the actual real opportunity as it relates to social media. And so if you don't, as a brand marketer, take that extra step to find those influencers and motivate them to share, you're really missing out on that promise. And that's what we help our clients do. And when you look back into the study that Brian has created and the information he shared, that motivation piece has to be is really important, understanding what motivates them as well. So, there's a problem. There's this problem that exists between what these marketers are delivering and what consumers actually want. And there's also a lot of marketers are coming to us saying that they don't really have a process that makes it easy for these consumers to share. And then what are the metrics? How are they measuring, one, their Facebook communities or social sharing itself? So I'm going to turn over to Lauren Newman so she can walk through the case study of a program that Smiley 360 executed with our partnership, Edelman.
Thanks, Sue. Hi, everyone. This is Lauren Newman from Edelman. Just to give you a little bit of a background about the program, last year, Pam Cooking Spray introduced a new and improved formula, which provides 70% better no-stick performance than bargain brands. So in order to teach consumers about the benefits of Pam, we wanted to provide them with an opportunity to experience the new product. So Pam Cooking Spray launched a word-of-mouth program last year and engaged members from Smiley 360's database, and then also tapped into the Pam Facebook community to participate as well. It was important for the brand to recognize some of the most loyal Pam fans out there, which were on the Pam Facebook page, and provide them with an exclusive opportunity to participate in the program. The goal of the program was to drive advocacy for the brand through authentic social sharing and to amplify those conversations online. The Smiley team had community managers that continually engaged with all of the participants, answered any questions that they had, encouraged sharing, and also provided some feedback to our team as well. And then throughout the entire program, Edelman and Smiley worked closely together to monitor all of those conversations and capture everything and develop a really thorough recap at the conclusion of the program that we could then take back to the ConAgra team as well. I know we're going to get into some more details about the program and the logistics and the participant experience later in the program, but just to give you a brief overview, we are looking to engage the Pam Facebook community and provide them with an experience to try the new Pam rather than approaching it with the mentality of a sampling program so that they could really, truly experience the benefits of the new formula. And our ultimate goal was to increase awareness and purchase intent and ultimately change their perception of Pam. And the target consumer that we were reaching out to was women between the ages of 25 and 54 who love to cook and also switch between Pam and private label.
So this is Sue again. I'm just going to talk about our process in a little bit more detail, and this is the Smiley platform that our company Social Media Link uses to leverage, to find the influencers and leverage the sharing. So we first start with recruiting the Facebook community from Pam and identify those that would qualify for the program through a custom survey. Once we identified those that qualified and we felt would be the best participants, we invited them to opt into the program. We then delivered an experience kit, and Abby will talk about that in a little bit more detail. Those that went out and experienced the product, so that was making the recipe and trying it out, came back to our site to write their review and leveraged our single-click sharing technology, which automatically spreads the reviews to their most popular social networking sites or their most preferred social networking sites. The goal, of course, of this is to build advocacy amongst their friends, their followers, their readers, and drive that purchase consideration or that path to purchase. As Lauren mentioned earlier, we captured all of those conversations. It gave us an opportunity in the community management team to have a two-way dialogue, to really, again, increase the sharing and to thank them for the comments and answer any questions that they may have. And at the end of the program, of course, we were measuring both with monitoring, reporting, and custom research, which Abby will also take you through as well. So I'm going to turn it over to Abby now.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Sue. It's Abby at Conagra here. So as Sue and Lauren both alluded to, we really wanted to get our Facebook community involved. We knew they had reached out and liked us proactively for a reason, so we wanted to open up this program to them to give them kind of an exclusive opportunity for liking us. So we decided, as we were planning the program, to really make it as experiential as possible versus just a coupon to go try the new can. So we shared dinner kits, which really included everything from a Pyrex dish to the can of PAM cooking spray to some recipes that were really, would put the new no-stick claim to the test. So really cheesy, gooey recipes, so people can see it for themselves, because you're most willing to share if you truly see it for yourself and believe. And ultimately, people are more likely to believe their friends than they are to us telling them that this is a better no-stick experience. So on to the sharing and conversations. When we were starting this program and evaluating vendors to work with, we really thought Smiley stood out because of a couple of reasons. We really liked their automated ease of sharing with their one-click sharing. It was a way we could really, it made it really easy for the users to share throughout their different embassies, as well as it made it really easy for us to track, which can sometimes be a struggle, especially on embassies like Facebook. So that was another benefit. And then Smiley had some built-in motivations within their network that their network was used to as far as incentives and gamification to reward folks for sharing. So you can see some of the examples of the content we got back below. And then, as Lauren and Sue both alluded to, we captured the conversations. A lot of that is, there's some stuff that's confidential that we didn't want to share out, but we showed here kind of the volume of conversations through, and you can see the high points where those hit through post, impressions, click-through, sentiment. We actually did a lot deeper than that into pre and post purchase intent, likelihood to recommend, some of our different brand attributes. So got a lot of information from the community, both in the pre and then the post. And you can see the influence was an average of 266 Facebook friends, 121 Twitter followers, 21 offline conversations, and they shared 2.5 times throughout the program. So we really liked that they kept sharing. It wasn't just a once and done, and we really saw that conversation continuing throughout and after the program. So some benefits we got from the program that, frankly, we weren't even expecting to get as much as we did was we've never had paid acquisition for the PAM Facebook page. It's always been very organic, and that was part of what we wanted to do here, was just reward the people who like us because they're already advocates versus because they came in through a paid campaign. So we actually saw the highest engagement levels when we launched this program. We got more than 1,680 reviews from our Facebook fans, generating over 3.8 million impressions throughout the program. So a coupon redemption of 55%, and it was not a particularly high value coupon, so that speaks a lot to how much people were sharing and wanted, the people who were receiving the shares, there was something in it for them. They got to go try it for themselves, and it was enough to bring down the risk. It was a 35-cent coupon, but not an extremely high value that we would typically see this redemption rate on. And then the one kind of nice output we had that we weren't particularly expecting was a pretty significant increase in fans within 24 hours of the launch. So we actually saw in 24 hours a 25% increase in our fans. And then a 13-point lift from the pre to the post in likelihood to purchase, and 16-point lift in likelihood to recommend. And if you remember, these are people who already like PAM, so those lifts are pretty significant on that base. So the key takeaways here was really, your audience is Facebook fans of yours for a reason, so really leverage that. They want to share if you give them the right tools and the right reasons. They can easily become your brand advocates. So the second learning is not all Facebook fans have the same level of social media experience. They're not all bloggers. They're not all on Twitter. And just understanding that, and you know, there might have been a better way to segment and to work with different groups based on their expertise. And then, again, bring value to your advocates to share with their social networks. There has to be a benefit for them to share, too, and they want to be providing a value to their friends. So it really has to be two-way. So the coupon was the way we give them some value to share out with their communities as well. And then continuing the relationship with them after your program is over and rewarding your top influencers with ongoing relationships. So now
thank you, Susan, Abby, and Lauren, for your perspective and that great case study on PAM. For those of you who are joining us late today, we started off our webinar with a presentation from the New York Times, where we heard findings from a groundbreaking study called The Psychology of Sharing. Two key takeaways were, first, sharing is all about relationships, and we looked at 6 personas of online sharing that were identified, each of which was identified by emotional motivation, desired presentation of self, and the value of being first to share. Now, please welcome us please join us in welcoming Adam Riff from Mediawhiz. Adam, can you tell us a little bit about Mediawhiz? What stood out for you when hearing the findings from the New York Times study, and how the discussion of social sharing is framed within your organization? Excuse me, Adam, we believe that you are on mute.
Okay, sorry about that, guys. I've been talking for the last minute, so you guys missed a lot of good information. So, in any case, let's go ahead and get started. So, again, Adam Riff, been with Mediawhiz for about 6 years. I've been in the digital media space for about 13, and my job is to manage the integration of our digital media channels for our clients, social, search, display, and SEO. And I will talk today specifically about how social and search are integrating. So very briefly about Mediawhiz, we were founded in 2001. We are a performance marketing agency, and what that really means is we combine strategy, expertise, and the methodology that we feel we've perfected over the years to essentially just drive consumers for our clients and help them do so profitably. So let's start out with something Brian referenced, which is who's sharing. Seems like everybody these days, but people share for different reasons. But ultimately, one of the driving forces is to be able to help and be able to get feedback. But the thing behind all that is influence. And what's interesting is that influence matters in social. It also matters in search. So we're going to talk a little bit about that in the next few minutes, and really why it's critical as a brand to be able to make sure that these two particular digital channels are working very well together. So our job is to drive sales for clients, right? So let's look at how social affects that specific goal. The data does show that social shares lead to purchases. 75% of folks click on product links if they're shown something on Facebook or Twitter. 62% of shoppers read friends' social shares. 53% buy shared products, and 49%, almost half, say that they care about the opinion of their friends, their social circle. It's word of mouth in the digital age, essentially. So what does that really mean in terms of search? Well, when you think about how a consumer goes through a path to purchase, they're bouncing between different mediums. They may get an email. They may then go on social and do a search. Ask a friend. They may do a search on Twitter. But what the data does show is that almost half of shoppers that start with social in terms of asking someone in their circle, do you think this product is good, or how do I find this, end up turning to search to actually make the purchase. And if they do make the purchase online, and if they make it offline, they're typically consulting Google, so to speak, on reviews or just information around the product. So search influences social, social influences search, and ultimately both of those influence purchase. So what does that mean for us as marketers? Well, how do we tap into these sharing trends, and how do we really try to integrate social and search in an actionable way? So to do that, let's start by understanding how social is impacting the search engines, and no better place to start than Google, which is obviously still these days driving about 75 to 80% of all search traffic. So essentially, when you do a search now, you are getting a myriad of different results coming into that search engine results page that are rich, and those can include images, news, video, etc. And I'll show you a little bit later that it's now also including authoritative authors. An influence or authority that those authors are building is influenced by social. So Google Plus is, a question mark right now. The statistics that we all look at show that, frankly, users don't really participate in Google Plus. They don't leverage it in the same way that they leverage Twitter or Facebook. But I think that's a little bit misleading, because Google Plus for Google's purposes is really an insight. It's a window into the sharing behavior of consumers. And that's one of the things that they're really trying to learn more about, and that ultimately can help impact their advertising in a different way. So Google Plus, despite the non-impressive statistics right now, I think is actually accomplishing a goal of what Google is trying to do. On the other side, you have Bing. So they have not inputted social into their search result, their core search results in that way, in the same way that Google has, or created a Bing Plus, so to speak. But what they are doing, and what's very interesting, is they create essentially a social companion to search. So while you're doing a search for a brand or a product, on your right-hand side, as you can see here, you get to see what your friends say about that. And then you can click one of those links, go right to Facebook, and ask a question to them. So it's almost like going shopping with a friend that has bought the product prior or has an opinion about it. So a very powerful union here between search and social in a way that's sort of non-intrusive, but gives the user additional information. There's another aspect to this that's really important in terms of SEO. And as a marketer, brands are always trying to build authority and ranking. So this study shows that 100 Google Plus followers 300 Google +1 votes, Facebook promotion, tweets and retweets, Twitter followers, and it's not listed here, but Facebook shares are dramatically influencing ranking. So that can equal, at a very high level, sales. So the higher you rank on Google, the higher you rank on Bing, the more sales you can generate for the brand. So this is something that is developing and continually increasing in importance in terms of what the engines are counting in their algorithm. So if you're doing an SEO program, it's absolutely critical that you're partnering with a social media expert to be able to drive these actions. What we see here is influence, just like on sharing, and authority. If you do a search for really anything that you're trying to research, you're going to see folks who have pictures here, and these are authors, you know, A.J. Khan, Himanshu Gupta. These are folks, and sorry if I butchered that here, but these are folks who Google considers authoritative authors. How do they know that? They're looking at social signals, how many follows they have, how many times their articles have been plussed or shared, etc. And think about how much that influences click-through rate. The flip side. So obviously social is impacting search, but search is also impacting social. People want to do it, be able to find information easily within the network, so Facebook or Pinterest or Twitter. Twitter recently acquired Sumify. Sumify's sole objective is to organize social media information and be able to make it easily searchable and be able to help consumers find information from their circles and from outside their circles. So absolutely critical to keep in mind that you know, search and social, again, are influencing one another, and you have to be able to pull the two together. So just to wrap up here, unfortunately, it looks like although 75% of marketers say that integration is not happening, or that, excuse me, that's important, 50% are not integrating yet. So long story short, if you haven't integrated your SEO and your search program and having that person meet with your social media expert, that's something to change pretty quickly. So, all right, well, guys, that's it. Thank you very much for the time, and I will pass this back over.
All right, thank you so much, Adam. A question for Brian. You know, Adam just referenced the 6 personas of online sharers you identified in your study and how this learning could impact search marketing. We're curious if you had thought of this aspect of search marketing as an extension of sharing when you developed your study.
We did not include the intersection of search and social sharing in our study. But the point is really good and really strong, and that's where we're thinking about the next step or the next generation of our kind of sharing research. That's definitely something that we're going to be looking at a lot more closely.
Great. Well, now let's give a warm welcome to Angela Bandlow from Extole. Angela is a leading social marketing platform. What was your reaction to the New York Times study findings, and how do they fit within Extole's views on social sharing?
Hi, Susan. Thanks for having me join today to talk about Extole and how marketers can take advantage of this psychology of sharing to really drive social marketing results. And what struck me the most about the New York Times study is that it really validates what we're seeing from a marketing perspective. With consumers sharing more online than they ever have before, it really provides the opportunity for brands to tap into their customer advocates and really think about consumers' motivations for sharing, to cultivate sharing about their products and services. And that's what I'd like to go through today. So before I jump in, just a little bit about Extole. We're a software startup based in San Francisco. We were founded in 2009, really with one simple mission that ties into everything we talked about today, which is to enable brands to harness that power of word-of-mouth recommendations and emerging social networks to drive
measurable marketing results. So we've evolved into a suite of what we call consumer-to-consumer social marketing solutions that help brands identify advocates, cultivate these advocates, and then foster word-of-mouth stories about their brand. So a little bit of context, and we talked a lot about this today already. Consumers are sharing more online than ever before, whether it's an update, a post, a share, a photo. They're sharing billions of things a day, 4 billion things a day on Facebook, 1 billion plus things a day on Google+, and that is doubling on an ongoing basis, on a year-over-year basis. At the same time, the reach of social networks is absolutely staggering. So the latest ComScore report shows that social networking sites reach 82% of the world's online population. That's 1.2 billion users worldwide. And then take into consideration that, as we've talked about today, by definition, consumers trust their friends and peers more than they trust brand advertising. So there's a huge opportunity for brands. In fact, according to Forrester, 80% of all purchase cycles, whether they're B2C or B2B, involve some form of word-of-mouth recommendation. And then tying that into what's going on with Facebook and the Open Graph, now the Open Graph is making the opportunity for marketers to reach out to consumers wherever they are and then harness the shares with those consumers and broadcast those back into Facebook, creating an opportunity to even amplify those shares and word of mouth more. So the way we look at the evolution of social marketing and where word of mouth and sharing comes into play even more from a marketing perspective is we see that the way brands started out using social for marketing was really more of an extension of their traditional approach to marketing, really taking brand messages and putting them out over social networks. Whether that was building brand pages, building likes and follows, it was really representing their brand on those social networks, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, Google+, etc. Now, what we see as the opportunity is to really tap into the power of your consumers that are out there that are already sharing, tie into their personas and their motivations for sharing to get them sharing about your brand, spreading word of mouth, and really fostering trusted, relevant recommendations to their social communities. So let me talk about how that works. Essentially, how that works is brands have an opportunity to reach out to their customers wherever they interact with them. That could be on their website, it could be on a customer community, it could be on their e-commerce site, it could also be on a social network. To reach out to those consumers, give them a reason to share about their brand. It could be a referral program where they can recommend to their friends. It could be a coupon that they could share with their friends or some sort of sweepstake. Or it could be the opportunity to just say, I love this product, I want this new pair of shoes, etc. Those shares then are broadcast via social networks and actually amplified out so their friends see these as trusted recommendations. And then obviously that drives measurable social marketing results because those recommendations come from trusted friends and peers. So the opportunity for marketers is to really drive first sales and acquisition, so new leads, prospects, opt-ins, as well as new high-value sales. And these are high-value sales because they really come as trusted recommendations from friends and peers. At the same time, they can also amplify reach and awareness, which ties into the impact, obviously, of social on search. So it's amplifying these messages via the social graph, driving new referral traffic to your brand site, improving your search results. And then where this goes in the future is you can actually take these word-of-mouth, earned media stories and use them to improve your advertising and paid media. And then at the same time, brands can gain really valuable insight into who their advocates are, what their level of influence is, what their social reach is, and the social reach of their advocates. So I'd like to go through a few tips on really how brands can amplify the power of their advocates and get them participating in these types of programs. And then I'll walk through some examples in an end-to-end program so you can see how it works. The first is, we've all talked about why people share, what their motivations are, the different personas. The first tip is pretty easy. It's make it easy for people to share when they're ready to share about your brand. So it's making sure that you include relevant sharing options depending on the type of product, the type of brand, whether it's email, Facebook, Twitter, Google+, or even personal URLs, so you can create a URL that someone can cut and paste and share wherever it's convenient. Also, promote across all channels. Make sure that you're not just creating a program on a social channel or on your website, but make sure you tie your programs across all interaction points with your consumers, and then make it easy for them to share across any channel that they're most comfortable with. Another thing to think about is how to increase participation with incentives. So you're obviously going to get a percentage of your consumer population that's going to share organically. Another way to increase participation is to really think about giving your advocates a compelling reason to share and a compelling offer for their friends. So it could be something like free goods or a discount or loyalty points. It could be a gift card. It could be charitable donations. But making sure there's something in it additionally for them to share about your brand. It's also really important to make it personal, not just for your advocates, but when they're sharing with their friends, to make sure they understand that share is coming from a friend. It's coming from a trusted friend, and validating that when you bring the friend back to your site, that they are visiting from a recommendation from a friend. And lastly, we talked about this earlier in the session, adding recognition and gamification. So really thinking about how, as a marketer, you can tap into human desires and behavior to compete, excel, and be recognized. You can add things like leaderboards and scoring into your consumer programs to really foster participation and additional sharing. So I'm going to walk through just a couple examples of the types of results companies can drive from this, and then I'll walk through an end-to-end example. So really tapping into consumer word of mouth and using this to help drive your social marketing drives measurable results across the entire marketing funnel. And again, because these are coming as trusted word of mouth recommendations and shares from friends, it's not surprising. So we see amplified results across awareness, increased referral rates, conversion rates, acquisition, revenue, etc. So a few examples here. The first one is it's a video rental service, and this company was able, by launching a word-of-mouth program and referral program about their brand, in 11 months was able to generate 2.3 million social shares and stories, and obviously the impressions of that were amplified 100x over that. There's also an example of a financial services company, and this is it's a money transfer company. And originally they didn't think they'd even be able to drive 250 new customers through a social referral program, and right now they're adding 200 plus customers a day, over 5,000 new customers a month through their referral program. And this is just based on word-of-mouth recommendations from their customer base. It's their highest performing acquisition channel at this stage in the game. And then one of the other things that we see that's very interesting is that not only are you driving more sales, they're actually higher value sales. So for example, we've got an online apparel company that put a social referral program in place where you could share with friends, and their average order value is $150. Through this social referral program, the average order value is actually $350, and that's because it's coming as a personal recommendation from a friend. So I'd like to walk through an example here of how this works. This is a case study of tastingroom.com, and we've worked with them to really socialize their entire customer experience and make it really easy for their passionate enthusiasts to share about their brand. Tastingroom.com is an innovative new website that allows consumers to buy wine by the bottle, by the glass, or by a taste, and they've got a passionate customer base of wine enthusiasts. And really what they wanted to do is tap into that customer base and get them to spread the word about their new site and their unique wine tasting options. So they worked with us to really think about how to embed consumer-to-consumer programs in their entire customer experience. So first let me dive into they created a social referral program. So this is a really personal program for someone to share with their friends and say, I love tastingroom.com, try them out, and you'll get first, if you share as an advocate, you'll get $25 off your next order, and you'll get $50 or 50% off a premium wine sampler. And then your friends will also get $25 off their first order. And then back to one of the tips here, as you'll see, making it really easy when someone wants to participate to share however they're most comfortable, whether it's a really personal email share, a Facebook post, a Twitter post, a personal URL, could be LinkedIn, could be Google Plus as well. So here's an example of how that works. In this case, this is a share via Facebook, and we actually have it tied into the open graph, so you can do a permission, and then these shares are broadcast across Facebook to the newsfeed, timeline, and ticker. This is an example of the types of shares that you're creating, and you can see that this is very personal. If it's an email, it's a very personal email. It's coming from your friend John that says, I refer Tasting Room, and here's why, and by the way, here's what you'll get if you try it out. You also see an example of a Facebook share, which is, again, being broadcast to your timeline as well as to your timeline as well as to the newsfeed and the ticker. This is another type of program also used by tastingroom.com, which is a social coupon. It's a little bit less personal touch, but it's being able to claim a coupon and share it with friends. And again, this is an example of doing that on Facebook. So you can actually claim this coupon. You'll see a coupon code that's actually displayed online right here as well as sent. And then that's getting posted, again, to my Facebook timeline newsfeed ticker for friends to see on an ongoing basis. And lastly, this is a new type of way to share, and this is enabled by the Facebook Open Graph, and we call these social expressions. This is a way for a brand to build custom verbs for their customer advocates to share their feelings about their product. In this case, with wine, they can share that they want this bottle of wine, they tried it, they recommend it. And this gets shared, again, as a social post to their friends. And what this also does is it actually creates an aggregation on the consumer's timeline of all of their interactions with the brand to tell a really rich, relevant story of their relationship with that brand. So this is a picture of what that actually looks like on somebody's timeline. You'll notice that you can actually see recent activity and that they actually claimed a coupon. You'll see posts on their timeline, and you'll see an aggregation of all of the actions that they're taking with that brand on an ongoing basis. So what we're doing is we're taking those shares, we're broadcasting them, and what we see on average is for every story that's shared, and this is specific to the Facebook Open Graph and Facebook, for every story that's shared, we're seeing about 120 impressions. And for every story that's shared, we see, on average, 1 referral click. And then in terms of engagement with those stories, we're seeing about 65% of that engagement is actually on the consumer timeline versus the newsfeed and the ticker, which makes sense because there's a lot of noise in those different vehicles. So that's just a little bit of a glimpse into the types of programs that marketers can put in place to harness word of mouth, really tap into consumer sharing and get consumers sharing about their brands to drive real results. And with that, I will turn it back to Susan.
Great. Well, thanks, Angela. Your case study really hits home the value and the effectiveness of these type of social sharing programs. There was a question for you from an audience member, which is, how do these principles change when doing B2B?
Yeah, good question. We actually serve customers across both B2B and B2C. It's a different question in terms of motivation. So if you think about that science, psychology of sharing, it's a different type of share when you're doing a professional share, and you really need to think about how do you motivate the person individually to share this story about what their company is going through. So it's usually a different type of motivation that you want to put in place in a B2B type program.
Got it. Were there any other questions, or panelists, did you want to ask each other a question? If not, I'd like to thank you all for coming today. We will have both the live recording as well as the white paper of the New York Times study up on our website at the IAB beginning tomorrow. So go to www.iab.net and search around for that. We'll also send an email link. And if any audience member had any additional questions for our panelists, please feel free to email me at susan@iab.net. And with that, I thank you and enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you.